Welcome to the fourth episode of Independent Artists Unite song series. I'm Scott Baker Graham, and I'm thrilled tonight to actually welcome one of my oldest kind of Instagram contacts, actually, Paul Chaney, coming all the way from Dublin, Ireland. Paul, I'm thrilled to have you here tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.
And I just want to say what I had just said to Paul, that he usually wears sunglasses in his promo pictures. So I picked these glasses out just for Paul. They got rhinestones on them and everything. It's almost like Elton John-esque, but you're without the shades indoors, you said.
That's it, yeah. Because I can't usually see. I'm so short-sighted.
Um, you know, just wanted to talk by talking about your Instagram presence, because I've always been very intrigued with what you do on your Instagram, which really, takes a lot of courage, really, because you invite everybody into your creative process, is the way I see it. And you're just like, you'll just be there on your guitar, you'll just be there on your bass, and just be like, I just had this in my head, and you just put it out there for everyone to kind of go along with you for the ride, on your creative process, which I think is really cool.
I think it was just a case of, I guess one of my Achilles heels is I'm a perfectionist. I used to spend way too much time on projects.
Yeah.
And they didn't get done. And I used to see friends of mine, they'd be talking about their album or EP for years, years, about concepts and everything. And I'm like, do I want to be, that expression, madness is repeating the same thing again and again, expecting a different result.
Different results, yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be at least have something at the end of the day or the week that's kind of done or good enough. 80% is good enough.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I want to do short stuff, singles, just get them done fast, get them out. And at least you'll have something that at least you can be partly proud of that you just did.
Yeah, yeah. And you're really a multi-instrumentalist. You sometimes you'll just pick up the acoustic guitar and you'll be crooning with that, or it could be an electric guitar or the bass or the synth, or what I'm really I really have envy over is the baritone guitar you have, right?
Yeah. I'm a big
Talk about that in case people don't know what a baritone guitar is.
All right.
It's a really cool sound.
A baritone guitar, it's kind of tuned in this middle range, lower than a standard guitar. So it's kind of halfway in range between a guitar and a bass.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of very low kind of thing, It was kind of popularized in the 60s a lot with spaghetti western, that kind of low.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, the Fender version, it's called a bass VI or a bass 6. Was used a lot by Sergio Leone.
Okay.
Ennio Morricone.
Yeah.
For the Dollars trilogy films.
Oh yeah.
Because it has a real distinct kind of twang. I love it because it's got this kind of, how to explain it? The best way to explain it would be it's like driving a souped up sports car.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're sturdy, right?
Like
they're real sturdy. Are they sturdy and a bit heavier than most sturdy?
I think it's to do with the tuning of the strings. It's like you're driving a monster truck or something.
Yeah.
It's just it's just this power. It's like a growl.
Yeah.
Where you've got enough bass bottom end to kind of carry something. It's like ensemble. You got the bass end, you got the high end. It's just this beast of a sound that's huge.
Yeah.
I love it. You can't use it in everything though. It's you have to pick your battles, because
right.
A lot of bass players don't like it because it doesn't play like a bass. Guitar players don't like it because it's not really a guitar.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like wrap your head around where is the best place to use it.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to mention, because I see that a lot of people do this, but you were the first one that I saw do it, and you really do it a lot, which is just support like many other artists. Like I followed so many people that you were always putting in your stories, hey, this is a great vibe from so-and-so person, and oh, this is a great, atmospheric, really, you can really, get lost in this one or whatever. And I mean, you do that almost every day, right? And it could be 3 or 4 artists. So it's like a great service to the community, I think.
I think it kind of affected me when I started doing this thing properly around the time of just before pandemic, and I
Mm,
just kept going, doing it. And I was getting messages like DMs from people, some of them my friends, some of them not, going, what you're doing is really inspiring me to kind of dust off the guitar or the synth or whatever and get back
mm,
into it.
yeah,
Like I didn't realize that it had that effect on people.
yeah,
And it wasn't just one person, it'd be like a good few, like dozens of people that just DM me going, thank you for just doing what you're doing.
yeah.
And what I'm doing isn't a lot. And there's an awful lot of other people, including yourself, which I find you very, very inspiring.
Oh, well, I,
Um,
yeah, that means a lot to me because I have to say, I have this almost like, to be perfectly honest, I have a little bit of a fear of you, Paul. Because I think that you are such a serious musician. I really respect what you do. And I noticed that you only like I know when you've said something positive about what I've done, I know I really hit a home run,
no, no,
You're not
definitely.
you're not very easy with the praise. And so I think it's like yeah, I don't know what it is, but I find myself trying to impress you, with like whatever I'm doing.
Well, I think you're a phenomenal musician, but I my screen is actually frozen. Is it okay on your end?
Oh yeah, it's okay on mine. Yeah.
Okay, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
let's see. I
okay.
don't mind. Once you can see me, I'm just looking at a frozen image of the two of us, but
Oh, that's too bad. Okay.
that's cool.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
good. Once you can see me and it's recording, that's fine.
Yeah. I think if I can see it and it should be recording that way on this end.
That's
So
cool. This is
hopefully it will catch up. All right. I want to before we get into what else I wanted to say. Um yeah. So now let's get into the song that you wanted to talk about, which is 21,
Hmm.
which I love. Um and you said you wanted to talk about this one because it was the most like other songs that you were doing on your upcoming album. Which is, speaking of album dates, when is yours coming out?
Hopefully in the early autumn. I think what
Okay,
I want
cool.
to do first is just put 4 singles out with
Okay,
videos.
yeah,
Um, because throwing an album out when no one really, you don't have a huge following, there's no real point.
yeah, yeah,
So I just want to get, they said 4 singles, and hopefully one or two of them will catch on, and it'll be a good base to release an album.
yeah, yeah. And when are you going to put out the first single, you think?
And probably, let's see, um, probably early autumn, and then the album will probably be late autumn actually,
Oh, exciting. Yeah,
because I want to have a bit of a run up, a bit of
yeah,
a kind of in my small way, a bit of a kind of a run up to it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll have you on again when that time is coming. But
Right? I look forward to that.
tell us about 21. I was going to say too, like the themes of, well, you say in your bio too that you always felt like an outsider or an outlier, and this song is really kind of like it sounds like you're at some kind of crossroads, right? It seems like I could go this way or this way, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like that was one of those songs that it kind of wrote itself, and I know that's a cliche, but
Yeah,
it literally came together in a day.
yeah.
The whole thing,
Wow, yeah,
concept, like the melodies, you're kind of halfway through the song, and you're like, oh, I don't have a melody for that verse, and then it just hits you when
yeah,
you're having your dinner. Just very bizarre. Those
yeah,
moments don't come around that often, but when they do, it's a beautiful thing, because it's just
mm,
like subconscious into reality, down on paper, done.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
it's so
cool.
wonderful. Yeah.
So I guess the song, the whole idea of the song, as you said, like it's about, I suppose, getting more in touch with kind of what you're meant to do,
Mm,
and having opportunities that you might deny, because of other commitments or whatever.
mm,
When really a lot of deep happiness, especially with creative people, comes back to following what you know you should be doing,
Yeah.
you know. And I know a lot of people that had given up on their creative um, side, and they're less happy because of it. Because it's not
Yeah.
something you can just give up. It's part of what gives you a sense of purpose and a kind of catharsis on bad times as well. It's so important for a creative to be creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I'm only realizing that even more now,
Yeah.
because how could I explain it? You know, it's not really said that often.
Mm,
You know, it's kind of like, you know, get the job and dog and career
mm.
and creative stuff, even though it's so important in business even, it's not mentioned as a priority much, especially for people that are actually artists to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's real crazy. Of course, there's tons of studies, that show that music, kids, when they learn music, they learn everything better. I mean, it's like and of course, I mean, really, like a society to me is like based on its cultural offerings. That's like
Mm.
that's really the beautiful thing about different cultures. And but yeah, I was just thinking, I had a journey like that too, where but I found there's a lot of people like me too, which they were like diehard rock and rollers when they were younger, and yeah, tattoo my hand, it's no problem. I'm gonna be a rock and roller my whole life.
Mm.
And there's some kind of like some version of music industry implosion happens, or drugs or alcohol or whatever.
Mm.
And for me that happened, and then I actually went 15 years not working on music because I was so brokenhearted about it. I had such lofty ideas about myself and music, and none of them came true. And it was so heartbreaking. I felt like I couldn't even go there. And well, as I mentioned, I had this heart attack. That was a big turning point for me, because I was like, okay, I'm still alive. You know, I got to see, what music is still in me. I love that phrase, "Don't die with the music still in you," which is like another corny one, from like Wayne Dyer or someone. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's so true. I mean, I really believe it can be lethal for creative people to suppress that in themselves. It's very unhealthy, psychologically and ultimately physically.
yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I heard, was watching an interview with that guy. He's like a public speaker, Simon
Mm.
Sinek,
Oh yeah.
uh, and he made a good point. He was talking about people that are very, very focused on a particular goal, and once that goal is achieved, they go on a big downer because they
Yeah.
hadn't everything that they kind of built up is focused on one goal, and that
Mm.
metric of success is linked to one goal. And then, okay, what next? So he was talking about this thing called the infinity game, which
Mm.
is basically everything just keeps on going, and it's the next thing, and you're on a journey, and it's all good, and it
Yeah.
doesn't stop ever. And if something happens that feels like a point along the way, yeah, it's cool. If it's money or if it's a sold out show, it's all transient, but you're on this roll and you're not
Mm.
stopping because, you know, that's, there shouldn't be any stopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? I found
It
that kind of interesting where you're not, how could you explain it? Like the journey's the goal. You're just keep on going,
yeah.
like doing onto the next one. And you don't get overly fixated on um failing or achieving based on a particular point in time. It shouldn't matter that much.
Mm.
You know, I found that
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of like this idea of intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. Like when I was younger, I was very extrinsically motivated. I wanted the things, I wanted to do this, I wanted the record, I wanted money, I wanted to tour. And and now the switch has happened to a more intrinsic motivation, like you're talking about. Like it's a way of being. Like it doesn't matter, like you said, what goal you reach. you're motivated by the doing of the thing and the fulfillment that happens when you do that, not from achieving XYZ.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember what book it was in, but it was talking about Dave Mustaine from Metallica, thinking he
Mhm.
was a failure, and people were
All
like,
right, yeah.
how come he's a failure? Because they were saying in the book that his metrics for success were being better than Metallica
Mm,
or selling more records, which you're not going to do that.
yeah.
Even though he's one of the second biggest selling metal bands ever, in his head, he's a failure because his success metric was to sell more than Metallica.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is that how one determines success in their own head is a relative concept to each individual.
Mm,
You know,
yeah. And of course, there's plenty of people that get all the money and all the fame and blow their brains out. So obviously, that's not the thing.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Um, it's that thing of the happiest I ever am when I'm making music is I lose track of time completely,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
days, um, where almost time kind of stands still.
Mm,
Not many other things. In fact, I don't think there's anything else that puts me into that state. And that's pure happiness.
mm,
Um, and I'm lucky that I have a bit of a talent or whatever that I can pick up an instrument and be able to go there.
mm,
Um, I'm trying to get there more as much as I can because that's the goal for me.
mm.
Everything else is kind of a bonus.
And do you remember what instrument you picked up for 21? Was it the bass? It's got a
I'm
real driving
mainly
bass line.
I'm mainly a guitar player.
Okay.
So I have an old, just the day I was one of the earliest people in Ireland to finish high school or secondary school. I was still 16.
Wow.
So my school was very, very, what's the word? Conservative. There was
Okay.
no like music in school. Uh,
Mm,
it was a very, very conservative school focusing on, maths and science and those kind of subjects. So the
yeah.
day I finished um, secondary school, I bought myself an acoustic,
Mm,
and I still have it. And I learned, I bought some Nirvana tab books, and I taught myself basically.
mm,
So I still have that guitar, and I write most of my stuff on it. But that's with 21 as well. I just picked that up one evening, and the melody and the chords just came to me, and it was really easy.
yeah. And how do you feel about like, do you feel like there are greater forces at work when you're channeling these kinds of things, or do you have any views about that?
I what I believe is that there's stuff bouncing around the universe.
Mm,
If you're open to it, you're going to get a gift. So the
mm,
point is, if you're playing guitar every day for 6 hours, you have more chance of getting a diamond from the heavens
mm,
than somebody that hasn't bothered picking up a guitar in like 6 months. And that's why a lot of musicians that don't know anything technical or whatever um, come up with some of the greatest music ever written
mm,
because they were just in the right place and they were open to receiving the diamond from the universe.
mm,
I think you have to be in a position, and you can kind of feel when you're open to it as well.
mm.
That zone you're playing for a few hours and you feel like you're in a different state. Now, you might not get the diamond, but at least you've got the windows open
Yeah, yeah,
for the universal diamond to come through the window.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny, like even it reminds me of this story of Bob Dylan I heard because I have a friend who's the god mother to his children is Mare Winningham, is the actress, and she did this musical that was based on Bob Dylan, right?
Mm.
And she, one night she does it, and Bob Dylan is there. I mean, can you imagine? and
Unbelievable.
and afterwards, he comes up to her and he's just like praising her, and he's so sincere. He's just like, yeah, well, you know, those were just your songs. That's that. those are your songs now, what you're doing with it. I said, what? No, I mean, these, I mean, come on, you're Bob Dylan, these are your songs. He's like, no, they're not my songs. They're not my songs. I was open to that. I had that, I was open to those kind of songs from that time, and I can't do it anymore. That was just a special time. I had that channel then. I got something different now, but that 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 was then, and they're not my songs. They just like came through me, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then actually after he saw that performance, he left and he just walked around by himself around the West Village of Manhattan, and nobody knew where he was. And it was like, everybody's like, where's Bob? I don't know. His handlers are like looking for him. And he just went like on a 6-hour walk and just thought about how incredible it was, that he just went to a musical of his songs. Uh,
It's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah,
I don't think I watch an awful lot of documentaries and interviews with musicians,
yeah.
like hundreds, and most of them will tell you the same thing. The greatness of those moments, they're an element that hits the person they don't know what it is because it's
Mm,
not them.
yeah, yeah.
And I've heard that again and again and again. It's something hits them that's kind of alien to what their usual way of going about things is.
Mm,
And they just kind of ride that wave.
yeah.
Um, it's like trying to bottle something amazing. And I'm trying to play much more than I used to now, just to be open to these things. I don't want to be closed off just in case, I'm the person that gets to,
Mm,
write a classic,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, and on top of that, I just say one more thing to
Mm,
people that some people might think they're, over the hill, or maybe, people that are like late 20s coming over 30 or whatever, that what really helped me, especially going over 30, was, there's no pressure,
mm, yeah.
and on top of that, you don't know what part you may play in the world. You don't know. It's arrogant to think about how you are or aren't going to affect people.
Mm,
For all you know, you could have a song that gets picked up by somebody in outer Mongolia
mm,
that stops some kid from committing suicide because she played it to her sister. You don't know. It's like that. It's like the butterfly effect
yeah,
of creativity, and
yeah.
the only thing to do is just not stop. If you're creative, I think you've a duty to yourself not to stop, and
Mm,
because you might have, by you not stopping, there might be repercussions there that you're not even aware of, dominoes way down the line that might help somebody.
mm.
I mean, music saved my life. There's certain albums, certain songs, and I was staring over bridges looking at trains coming on when I was a teenager. I
Oh,
was there.
really?
A lot of
Wow.
people are there that were musicians.
Yeah.
But it was
Oh, I've been
music,
there too. Yeah.
you know, it's just, I think musicians as well, we feel things, the highs and the lows quite
Mm,
intensely. But how can I explain
yeah.
it? You can be a little bit short-sighted in how you might affect somebody. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I agree. I actually had this song, once in a while I'm looking on there to see like on Spotify artists or Apple artists, you can see what countries your music gets played in, right?
Mm.
And this one song, it was like way too many numbers. Like obviously it became someone's song, and it was in Ukraine, and
Wow.
right during this whole conflict and everything. And the song was about um that, like, this is one of those days. It was all about the victory that I made it through this one day, you know.
Mm.
And I was just like, I would love to know what the story is behind that.
Yeah.
It's obviously it did something for someone.
Mm. I'm like, a lot of people are kind of concerned, and I understand the concern about how could I explain it, the playlistification and the way everything is kind of corporately playlisted with
Mm,
streaming services, and it's losing its humanity because every genre is being categorized and filtered meticulously to appeal to playlists, you know.
Mm,
Um, I think at the core of it, though, human beings haven't really changed in the core needs in thousands of years.
mm,
And when they hear something that really resonates because it's real, it'll, they'll react to it.
yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why people, still love ABBA songs.
Yeah.
Because they're great
Yeah. Yeah.
songs. I mean, I was only listening to, I think it was Knowing Me, Knowing You, the other day. It's such an amazing song, but a real human topic. I think a lot of the lyrics in that song go through the divorce they were happening,
Mm,
a couple of the members at the time, but it's real. And even Dancing Queen, it hits you because it's not contrived. It's just great songwriting with real human expression.
yeah.
I don't think that will ever get old.
No,
You
no,
know,
those are here to stay. Yeah, those and Bee Gees. I went through. I don't know if you watched that Bee Gees documentary that was out a couple of years ago.
I didn't. I'd
Oh,
like to watch it.
it
Um,
it, it it's really heartbreaking. It's just the one that's left now. Barry Gibb is the only one left alive now. And
yeah,
I mean, it's just like the candy sound of kind of their music with the lush harmonies. You don't think that they went there with the drugs and alcohol and the
mm,
touring and but
mm,
they did,
yeah,
and yeah, it really is heartbreaking and amazing when you learn some of the things that they did in the studio. I think they were the first people to do a drum loop, actually. That was
oh
in
yeah,
Staying Alive, and it came out of their drummer was sick, and he just couldn't play a whole song, and he laid down laid down a couple measures, and they cut tape and physically looped it.
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and
You,
that was like the first loop.
mm. Now, you reminded me of something like my father told me a story last night about Sinead O'Connor.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I wanted to ask you a bit about Sinead because I think the perspective is must be a bit different from your perspective there in Dublin.
yeah, well, I actually said to because now she grew up down there's a port town called Dunleary,
Mm,
and she lived very close to there, and I grew up very close to there as well.
mm,
So I did see her around, not very often, but I have seen her shopping and things like that in the
mm,
past.
yeah.
Because she's quite unassuming, as you know. But my father told me some story about in and around that area a couple of years ago. There was some kind of amateur, local kind of club night where people get up and sing like a
Mm,
cover versions, like a karaoke thing,
mm,
or just stand up and sing at this gathering of people in a local club. And different people were getting up from all age groups and just singing a song, a cappella or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And a girl at the front stood up, kind of with a shawl covering her face.
Mm,
No one knew who she was. And she started singing. It was Sinead O'Connor, and no one knew it was Sinead O'Connor.
mm,
But as soon as she started singing, just her voice, nothing else, the whole room stopped talking.
wow.
The point is, they didn't know who she was. It's just the voice resonated with so many people in the room
Yeah.
that they all just stopped talking.
Wow. That's a cool story.
You know,
Yeah.
um, I was saying to my dad, I said, I guess the reason I was in a nightclub, pub nightclub, a couple of last weekend called Whelan's,
Mm,
famous club in Dublin. You should go there if you're here. And the dance floor was full, and that song Mandika by Sinead O'Connor came on, and
mm,
I think I started crying.
mm,
I guess it's because I realized, and I actually said this to a couple of people, that part of the reason it's kind of sad is there's a part of her in all of us that
mm,
kind of just resonates, and that voice is just so real. There's nothing contrived about it. It just cuts to the core,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I've heard. a little bit, you see a little bit of this, like, I wouldn't call it a backlash, but a critique, I suppose, that a lot of people say, hey, why didn't you support her when she was alive? Now everyone's calling her their hero. Is very safe to do now that she's gone. And but it's hard. I mean, it is a bit of a reminder to look around and say, hey, let me appreciate what's going on here, and the people that are in, the artists that are around and still here. But it's a bit of like the human condition. you know um it does take when someone's gone and you're just like, wow. I know, especially if you're not personally, involved with them.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it takes that when they're gone to really, sometimes to really just say, wow, I can't believe that this person existed and did all this shit. It's something about the human condition. You can't do that when they're still alive for some reason.
Yeah, I heard somebody talk about somebody who knew her on the radio talking about something. It was along the lines of yeah, basically somebody came up to her after she tore up the picture of the Pope
Hmm.
on American television, and they said, "Oh, your career's over now." And she turned around and said, "No, my career's only beginning. I'm actually an activist."
Hmm.
She saw herself as an activist spreading a message,
Hmm.
almost in a shamanistic way,
Hmm.
and a kind of a, what's the word, a part of a corporate machine.
Hmm.
I'd say that resonated with people as well, that you're dealing with the real deal here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're
I don't
not,
think I don't think anybody I don't think anybody argues over that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. But yeah, no, a great loss, and you know, that kind of person is just completely unique.
Yeah, but I have to say, maybe that's a little bit. Do you think anything has to do with growing up in Ireland, like you also did? Because there's a certain like gravity to you. You know what I mean? That I think that's what I was like a little afraid of. There's something about like something about coming from those areas or whatever that you have a certain gravitas, and you're like, if you're going to turn, you come through that and you turn on the world and say, and now I'm going to say this. It's is it part, could it be part of the Irish experience?
Yeah, well, I think the difference between, say, the upbringing I had, I was lucky, when I was growing up, which is a good few years after Sinead did, that the grip of the Catholic Church in Ireland was fading,
Mm,
where she grew up kind of in the middle of it.
mm,
And it was kind of, things were becoming a lot more liberal when I was growing up.
mm,
So the point is, like, she was surrounded with, she was a free spirit
mm.
being oppressed by a a kind of a power crazed religious entity. And she
Yeah,
was in a world where she basically was like, you know, somebody that's not a million miles away from, like a, how could you explain it? Like,
kind of
uh,
like the everyman or every woman,
kind of
kind of.
like that, that film
Yeah.
Cool Hand Luke.
Okay.
So somebody doesn't fit into an authority structure, but it's
Mm.
just, they just have to break out, and they try to keep that person down.
It
And
just can't be done. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. And but that takes such bravery to do,
Mm.
especially back then. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, but it's you can really hear that anguish in the voice. It comes
Mm.
through, you know. But not just to answer your question, you know, the history of Ireland, and a lot of the great, it does come from, oppression of
Mm.
different types, and
Yeah.
wars.
Conflict and war. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm lucky the way I missed a lot of the hardcore stuff, thank God. You
Mm.
know, I'm lucky in that way, but not by many years. Only
Yeah.
by a
Yeah.
few. So but there is I know what you mean. There is a unique kind of way Irish people go about expressing themselves. It's definitely different.
Mm. And I'm sure your dad's got a story or two.
Oh, definitely. No, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the like my family know a famous Irish songwriter called Phil Coulter.
Mm.
Um, he wrote some incredible songs. He wrote songs for Elvis as well.
Mm.
But this, I guess there's this, we do punch way above our weight. I don't know how,
I like that.
but
Yeah.
that's a saying you hear a lot in the media here.
Oh, is
But
that right? I love that.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, especially with the
That's it. That's
diaspora.
it. That's it. That's it. That's perfect. We punch
Yeah,
above our weight.
yeah. I don't know. It makes no sense. And I remember even when I go to the States, the last time I was in the States, um, when they hear an Irish accent, most people are like, "Wow, you've got an Irish, you've got an Irish accent." And my great grandmother was from Dublin, and you know, it's kind of fascinating for such a small country to have that reach, that
Mm.
impact on people.
Yeah.
Um, it's it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, how did it how
Yeah.
did it happen,
Yeah.
But no, it's cool.
Well, I think it's like, I mean, that kind of oppression and conflict or whatever, that a lot of amazing artists and writers and musicians come out of that, are born out of conflict like that. So, and it was so intense, um, in Ireland. I think it even is like it must be miracle grow for for creative kind of people that sprung out of that conflict at its height.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's I can't explain it, but there's definitely a sense of, and maybe it's because it's a small island, but there's definitely a sense of belonging when you live here.
Mm,
You
yeah,
feel like, it's hard to explain. You feel kind of, how to explain it?
like a part of,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah,
kind of like a pride.
like people got you kind of thing.
Yeah, I only really realize it when I go away.
Mm,
It's very strange. You kind of take it for granted, but it's only when you go abroad and you kind of realize that, oh, maybe, being Irish is kind of, I guess I'm lucky.
mm,
I'm lucky to be part of that.
yeah,
When you live here, you kind of, people annoying you, and, you're, you know,
yeah,
but, it's good. And the great thing, the music scene here, you know, it's not going to go away.
yeah. And do you play out a lot live at all, or are you plan to play out live? Or are you thinking, are you more of just a recording artist, or how do you feel?
No, I play live, and, I play with different bands as well.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. I play with with a two-piece basically called Freak Control. And, it's kind of like a Chemical Brothers kind of style thing, but live. So
Oh, oh,
drums,
cool.
and like basically it's a drummer, amazing drummer, Dietrich, and myself, and I'm like a octopus person where I'm
Yeah.
playing stuff with my feet. I have a funny story about that. Playing stuff with my feet, and I'm playing like baritone bass, and I have two microphones. One is like a robot voice, and the other one is like because I used to be in the choir. So when I sing through the other one in a falsetto, it's like this, a choir meets like RoboCop or something.
I heard that falsetto on the other track, Gravity, that you did as a collaboration. Uh, I I actually didn't know that that was you singing there. I thought when you said it was a collaboration, I thought it was going to be you did the music and someone else did the vocal, because that I haven't heard you really like break out that falsetto like you do on that track.
No, no, I do. I used to sing lead in the choir when I was back
Wow.
at school,
Yeah.
Um, but and the one strange thing about my falsetto, for some reason, it's the only thing that's always in tune first take.
Wow.
If I try sing any other register, I have to do 10 takes because it's a bit ropey. So it's like the choir thing because I did it when I was a kid.
Wow.
It's kind of natural. Doesn't make any sense,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Oh,
yeah, with the
that's so cool.
band, I remember I was doing so much stuff with my feet because I'd be changing sounds and triggering stuff with my feet that I remember a few people when we were playing live dragged their stools up to the stage just to look to see what I was doing with my feet because they thought it was Irish dancing.
Oh God.
Yeah.
They obviously never saw Geddy Lee from Rush, you know.
Well, I copped it off him.
Oh,
But
that's right. I've seen you with those bass pedals. Yeah. You did
yeah,
a little clip of that on Instagram one time. Yeah. Oh wow,
yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah.
definitely. But with the band, I kind of used them, and
Oh,
you know,
I have to see that sometime. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'll send you some videos of that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
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 we're
yeah.
called Freak Control. It's like
That's cool.
Control Freak backwards.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but we're actually going to be getting in rehearsing again soon, so we're looking forward to playing live again.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm gone a little bit over, Paul, because I'm enjoying talking to you so
Oh,
much.
likewise, it's been great.
We really yeah, I was really interesting hearing about Ireland and Sinead and your growing. I'm fascinated by that um, kind of stuff. So yeah, it was really cool to connect with you like this. I didn't
Well,
realize when I started doing this show, I thought about it as like a way as a service, like for people to talk about their songs. That maybe independent artists don't always get to do that. And what I didn't anticipate is like this connection that you make with people when you do this. You know what I mean? It's like it's like yeah, it's kind of like they let you into your heart, into their heart, and it's something that's so intimate in a way, really, to talk about the creative process.
well, I didn't know. Just on a similar note, that there's a lot of people in my circle on Instagram that I've never met that I consider friends now.
Yeah, right.
And I never thought that.
Yes, it's really
If they
cool.
were coming to Dublin or I was going abroad, I'd contact them and we'd hook up and have a drink, and we do collabs together. Like
Yeah,
you definitely get a feeling of a community now.
yeah,
And I never thought didn't really I wasn't that involved in social media until about 2 years ago. I didn't realize how much people could respect and help each other in a real cool ecosystem.
yeah. And I mean, in a way, with the technology now, it's just like you can collaborate with anyone. And I mean, right as we speak now, there's this kid in Virginia that's doing a remix of Young Lovers, the single that I put out. It's
Right.
the Honeymoon is Over mix remix.
That's cool.
And he's just doing all this shit huge, making it and I mean, I listened to it last night and I was just like blown away. So
Mm.
it really is a new world. It's really cool. And of course, I extend the if you ever get to Copenhagen, definitely look me up.
Oh,
And
definitely. Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. I'm overdue a visit back um uh, to Copenhagen.
yeah, 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 it's beautiful here, and I'd love to see your neighborhood too, and where you grew up, and
Yeah,
everything you're
always
talking about.
always
It's
welcome.
it's
Yeah,
cool. Yeah.
give us a bell. Yeah.